Alrighty.
Nice.
Amazing. Hello, everybody that's tuning in. It's Joni's birthday.
Nice.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. You already ask everyone where they're at right now? Not yet.
Not yet.
All right.
All right, everybody. Welcome. We are so excited for today.
Got a green shake just to tune in with the frequency of money. Thinking about those green
Paper bills. So, everybody, let's dive in and get started. Make sure you have some pen and paper ready. If you don't know where the chat is, at the bottom of the screen, you'll find a chat. So you can engage with us in the chat box because we'll be asking you questions. The more we engage, the more fun this is going to be. Yes. I love these types of calls, as I just mentioned. So I'm going to be walking away with a bunch of energy, and I'm sure you will as well. So
mutual, just pumping energy back and forth to each other. So welcome to the Magnetic Money Masterclass.
Yes, we are so excited for you all to be here. I see a bunch of very, very familiar faces, a bunch of goldies here, and some new faces as well. So let us know where you're tuning in from. I would love to hear where you're tuning in from, or also where you're from. If you're in a different place in the world, let us know in the chat.
Bolivia, Netherlands, Greece, Denmark, Netherlands, Germany. Oi, too fast,
London.
Too fast. I'm lost. Madeira? Where is that? Madeira.
That's Spain, I
Is
think.
It? Oh.
Yeah. Bali, Belgium.
Nice. Netherlands, Argentina, Switzerland, from the Netherlands though. Belgium, Netherlands. Tuning in from the Philippines, Spain. Nice.
Wow, so many different countries. Sri
Oh,
Lanka.
A Canadian. Yes. You're a rare breed around here. I love that.
Taiwan. Amazing. All right. I love seeing so many international, like such an international group from all kinds of different parts around the world. We are all in different time zones, but we still get to be here together today, and we're going to learn about the topic of money.
Yes, and that is such an interesting topic. It is a topic that Ellen and I absolutely love talking about, and we are freaking excited to be able to be here and share some of our insights and our experiences with you.
Yes, but before we dive in, we would love to hear from you. What is your number one reason to be on this masterclass today? So why did you come? Why are you here today? Let us know in the chat. Thais is saying breaking limited beliefs, improving my money mindset, always love leveling up. I see Lydia says strengthening my money mindset. Christine says always, oh, that's what I just said, leveling up. Changing your beliefs, changing your reality begins with changing your mindset.
To see you guys again, come on, making me blush over here.
We love seeing you guys as well.
Making me blush over here.
Learning more about money mindset, to be aware of my money blockade. Hey, Ali. Learn more about changing money mindset. Amazing. Improve our business.
Whoa, air conditioning. I need that.
Very good point. It's getting hot here already. Awesome.
All right.
To learn more from you guys. Awesome. Get inspired. You will definitely get inspired. And well, we have a bunch of people on the call. 62 people right now. I love it.
Love that.
We're all getting fired up right now. So
nice.
This is going to be a very, very valuable conversation for all of us.
Yes, because what we're going to be covering today are basically some really valuable money shifts that you can make in your own life that will help change your relationship with money. And when you change your relationship with money, you can change a lot in your life.
Yes.
Yeah. And also know that, that we here are going to be extremely real with you. We're going to be super real. One thing that our mastermind members already know about us is that we're not only going to be telling you what you want to hear, we'll also be telling you what you actually need to hear. Right? We're going to be very open. We're super real, and we're excited to actually share some stories that we've never actually shared ever before.
Yeah, we'll be telling a bunch of really, really exciting stories. And actually, to prepare for this conversation with you here today, Connor and I had a bunch of different discussions over the past 2-3 weeks about money, also with our program designer Francine, to really peel back the layers and give you what we believe you need to hear today here on this call.
Yes, so there is something about the topic of money that really makes a lot of people out in the world super uncomfortable. makes them maybe want to hide, run away a little bit, or just cringe a little bit when they hear it, or it comes up in a public setting, right? While others are extremely confident and absolutely love talking about money openly, and they're cool with it, they're comfortable with it, right? And today we're going to discover how you feel about money.
So, why exactly are we hosting this training today, though? Why
Yeah.
are we hosting this masterclass?
Well, basically, we're hosting this because we're actually, if you didn't know this, we are the richest people in the world. Nah, that's a joke. No, we're not the richest people in the world, but we are doing extremely well for ourselves financially. And we are hosting this because basically of everything that you just said. Richest in life, yes. No, but you guys are rich too. But yeah, we're hosting this because of everything that you just mentioned in the chats there.
Yeah, like you want to improve, you want to level up, you want to increase like your money mindset, you want to get more abundance in your life, right?
A relationship with money, level up the business, all that stuff, whatever it might be, right? And we want that for you too.
Yeah, we would really like to bring people on the journey with us, because we have achieved some form of freedom right now, a type of freedom that we have today that not many people have in the world, and we have accomplished that right now, and we would really love to bring people on the journey with us because we've also experienced what it's like being on the other end of it and living in scarcity.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, back in Australia when we met back in 2015, back then we had both completely different ways of dealing with money. Ellen at the time was working hard and she was saving pretty much all of the money she was making.
Every single penny.
Yep, every single penny. And while I had a different energy. I blew through my entire savings in 1 month. So we had very different mindsets and very different relationships that we both had with money.
And I would say that we both grew up, just like I'm sure many of you, in, I think I can say, like hardworking families, like in an environment where it was normal to work, 40 hours a week for a set salary. And it wasn't really until we really lived with our first mentors that our view on money just completely started to shift. And so there's many moments that we can remember from the first months, year into our entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, with our first mentor, but one moment stands out in a very, very big way. Now, this is one day basically where early morning, we're chilling, Ellen and I, we're up and we're trying to get some work in, we're trying to make.
So we were
make
living
some
with
money.
our mentor, okay? So we were living with our first mentor, and we've had many mentors along the way to get to where we are today as well, but our very first mentor, we were living with him.
Yeah, and we woke up early, well before he did, and we're up on our computers and trying to figure it out and putting in the work. And he basically, he was out drinking the night before, but he comes stumbling out maybe closer to noon or something like that. And he comes out and he's like, oh, just stumbling out like a hungover dude would. And then he comes out and first thing he gets back into is another bottle of wine. I'm like, oh, okay, he's getting after it today. But
at 9 a.m.?
9 a.m. I think it was
Something
a little late. I think he slept in past that. But anyways, he goes then afterwards over to the pool because we had a pool at our place. And he just rolls over there with his glass of wine early in the morning, sunglasses on to protect from the sun as a hungover person needs, lights up a cigarette, and he's goes and jumps in like a pink flamingo, and he's laying there chilling, and then passes out for a while. And we're okay, we're this is a mentor dude we're learning from. We're sitting over here putting in work, and he's
at
out,
this point
out
we
here
had not
passed out.
earned any money yet, so we were on zero. We had not made any money yet into the online world, okay? And so after 2 hours he woke up, he kind of got off of the flamingo that he was floating on in the pool, and he walked back to his laptop, which was right next to where we were working, and he opens his laptop and he literally checked his email and he said, oh, okay, nice, I just made $14,000 this morning. And he said it in such a casual way that we were like, what? How? $14,000 in a morning. And that was something that was for us unheard of because we had only family members and friends in our life that were only making, a few $1,000s a month and were working their absolute ass off.
Exactly. If we thought about where we were coming from, that 9 to 5 life, nobody around us was going and making $14,000 in a single day, let alone making $14,000 in a single morning and having it be while you're drunk, passed out, in a pool on a floaty.
Yeah, that was kind of insane.
Yeah.
But that's really started waking us up.
Yeah. So over the past years now, we went from not having money and living in scarcity to, having lived and spent a lot of time with people who look at money in a completely different way, right? Which has helped us drastically shift our financial situation. right? And we're freaking excited to be able to be here to help open your eyes during this call, because to be honest, wealth creation it's such a fun process. You know, it has been since we started, and is still such a big part of our entrepreneurial journey. And it's actually a skill that, as you master it, it will open up so many more doors that lead you to freedom and abundance in your life, and it's a really freaking beautiful thing.
And I mean, I guess that's all what you want, right? If we think about freedom and abundance in our life, that's the thing that we were after when we first got started. So would you guys agree with that? Type a yes in the chat if you do agree that, you know, the freedom and the abundance is the thing that we're all kind of like looking to create more of and have more of.
All right.
All right, are you ready to dive in then? I see a bunch of yeses. All right, let's go. Okay, so we'll start by explaining as to why you maybe haven't reached that, you know, financial level yet that you're looking for. Okay, so we're gonna do a quick exercise, right?
Yes. So what we want you to do is right now think of the most joyful experience that you've had with money in your life so far. Visualize it and feel it.
Yeah, so think of the most joyful experience you've had with money in your life so far.
Yeah.
Visualize it, feel it.
Yeah, maybe write it down if you got paper on you. If you can just write it, if it comes to you, just, you know, do a little note about it. You don't have to go elaborate, write an elaborate story on it. But
okay, so the first thing that comes to mind, okay? Mm-hmm. The joyful experience. Now, secondly, once you have that.
Yep. Now, think of a painful experience that you've had with money in your life so far. All right? Visualize that. Visualize the painful one and feel it.
Maybe write that down as well. Now, what do we want to know? Okay, so if you guys all have that, I see a bunch of you writing still, so we'll give it another second.
Saw a couple smiles, saw a couple writing.
Hopefully the team in Spain is doing things as well and not getting distracted there. All right, if everybody has it. So the most joyful experience and then the most painful experience around money, okay?
Maria, yes, the emotions are completely different. They are different stories. Mm-hmm. So now, what we want to know is, which experience was the one that popped into your mind faster? Which one came into your mind faster as we asked this? Which one was easier to, like, boom, just jump there? Was it the joyful experience, or was it the painful one that came to you faster?
Be very honest with yourself. Okay.
Yeah, go up a little bit here. This is jump down fast.
Lots of painful ones.
Christine,
I see Marloes, Amelia,
joyful.
painful.
Yeah, Nina, joyful. Alette, painful. And Dane, painful.
Joyful for Miriam.
Joyful
for Teresa. Lydia, painful. Joyful for Jill.
Kilian, painful. I don't know if I said that name right.
All right, thank you guys for all just dropping that in and being honest. Mm-hmm. Amber and Peter are saying...
A few of you both, so it came to equal kind of timing. Yeah.
Okay. I still can't think of a joyful one easily. Ooh, very interesting, Amelia.
That's interesting, yeah. Wait, sorry, go up. I just saw... Oh, none of it, actually.
Oh, okay.
Like, just can't think of an experience at all. That's okay. That can be life, too.
Both were instant for me. For you, Derek.
Tony, painful. Nicole, painful. Alette,
all right,
joyful. Yeah.
So... Why are we doing this?
Yeah, so whichever one actually came to you faster is likely the one that you're currently more oriented towards. Or it's the side that you're currently more aligned with, which maybe not be the most pleasant to hear for some of you, but that's okay because there's always room to improve, right? Now, when we want to understand money, it all starts with the understanding of the thoughts and the words and the energy that comes around it. Right? Mm-hmm. So for those of you that mentioned pain was the one that came to you sooner, What are some of the other words when you think about that moment that brought you to thinking, okay, pain, right?
Like that painful experience that you thought
Exactly.
of that money gave you.
If now you go back to that same moment and that same experience, what are some of the other words when you think of that moment that would describe what you're experiencing there, right? What are some of the other words that are attached to that experience?
Yeah. I see Vanessa says fear. Kilian says anxiety, frustration, betrayal for Denise, sad for Marluz.
Sadness for Amelia.
For one, not being independent, uncomfortable for Carmen, tears and anger for John and Anik, stress, Asmara, Nuna, and Karina, failure.
Yeah. Stress, yeah.
Yeah. Worry.
Yeah. All right. So now for those of you who actually mentioned joy, that one came to you first. What are some of the other words for you that come to mind from that experience where if you jump back to that moment in time, what else did you experience? What are some other words to define that moment?
Carefree, calm, relaxed, elated, expansive, happy, relief, freedom, proud for Franklin Crystal, grateful for Lisa, freedom for Jill, happiness for Davy.
Mm-hmm.
Excitement, happiness, confidence, grateful, freedom, no stress, happiness.
Yes.
Katarina, rest and freedom.
Yep, exactly. So you all most likely will be able to recognize this. Now, this is something that I usually go through, and I really orient a lot of my life around what we just did here, right? Being able to define the different words and energies that match up with different realities. Because one was one experience and one reality, and one was something completely different, right? They're both two complete different things. If you were looking at a board here, we didn't draw up something for you, but we'd have like the one word on one end, pain, and one on the other end being joy, right? They're complete polar opposites. And that's same for all the list of words that you did here that matched each experience. They're both on the similar energetic level. They're both on the same sides of the fence. Half of it was on a lower vibrational frequency or resonance, and the other side was on a higher level one, right? Now, I had a really, really interesting realization the other day that I want to share with you, because this is something that I've spent a lot of time paying attention to. Excuse me, having this protein shake. it's having, I paid a lot of attention to the energy and words that and frequencies that we tune ourselves into, and how to change my reality, or how to help other people change their realities or the outcomes, right? But I had this realization the other day that really, I was like, oh, snap, I get it now.
And I think this is something that is going to click for a lot of you.
Yeah, something really clicked for me. So now, before I get into it, I first want to know, let me ask you, why do people get a job? Why do people get a job? I would love for you guys to drop that in the chat. Why do people get a job? Boom, yeah, first word.
Lisetta says security, money to pay their bills. Nina says security, to earn money, financial security, to work for money, to be able to live. Malu says money security, to cover the basics. Hey, Bakje, to get money for Teresa, to pay bills.
Yep, exactly. So
security,
the first one I saw, the fastest one who came to it, where was that? Scrolling up, was...
There, Lisetta.
Lisetta said security, and that's the first one that I was thinking about as well, right? People get a job, for me anyways, when I think about, or most people get a job for security. Not everybody does it for that reason, but that's usually one of the underlying things. Or if I think about my time and experience working a 9-to-5 job, everybody around me in that moment, or the reason I was told I needed to get it, people pursue jobs for security, right? They try and go to university so they can get a good job that has security, so they can't just be laid off. They need to do something to set themselves apart from the pack to a degree, right? Now, this security is something that everyone's in pursuit of. And when you're in that state, it feels like a good thing, right? Because otherwise you wouldn't be chasing it, right? Everyone that friends or family around you, trying to get that job, telling you to go to school to get a good job for security reasons, right? Thinks it's a good thing. But I want you to think now, if I think about personally, there's something that specifically comes to mind, but I would love to know for you as well. If you think about a high security facility, if I say high security facility, what do you think of? What's a building that comes to mind? Yep, jail, prison. Yep. For me, that's it, exactly. when I think, like, I was thinking of security the other day, and then I was like, okay, what's something that's like more secure? And I'm like, what are some of the most secure things around? Some of the most secure things around are going to be prisons. Everybody in a job who's hunting a 9 to 5 job or like looking for that, they want security because they think it feels good. But really, if you go deeper into that and you understand what security is, I think high security facility, that's a prison. That's something that's like locked up, right? You're locked up. It's not,
Not gonna be able to get out.
You're not getting out. It's like there's limitations, there's walls around you, there's a roof over your head. All of these things, there's big limitations or scarcity, right? These are all the things that match up with the lower emotions on the end of the scale, right? Now, when we think about money, there's a lot of we think about a different end of the scale. We think about and I didn't realize that these were direct correlations, but we are after freedom, Elle and I. That's why we don't have things that tie us down right now, right? We're able to be free completely in our movement. We're able to be we have created financial freedom for ourselves, and that's something we like to help people do as well. And that's why we're here talking about money today. But I didn't make that connection for a long time, realizing that security to me is the polar opposite of freedom. Right? Now, most people will say, some people, when they want to become entrepreneurs, they're like, oh yeah, I want financial freedom, I want these things. But still, when they're in the early stage of trying to become an entrepreneur or build their own business, they still think that they need security because they're coming from that 9 to 5 set of life, right? Now, when you're coming from that side and you still think you need security, you're not going to get financial freedom. They're exclusive of each other. They're mutually exclusive. They do not correlate. You cannot have that security and also have freedom. They're completely different things. So this is the realization that to me was absolutely freaking huge.
Because so many people still, when you're stepping into entrepreneurship, are still saying that they want security.
Yeah.
And we've never in the past 5 years even thought of security.
No, it hasn't been a factor for us.
So that's what we want you to think about. Maybe even think about for yourself right now, deep down, like where are you thinking more? Thinking more of the freedom part, or do you still very often think about, hey, I need that security, even stepping into becoming your own boss?
Yeah. Now, whichever side of the topic of money that you feel more ignited by, that type of conversation, you're more aligned with it, right? And that is the feeling that you will that you're going to feed more. You're going to feed that energy, more of your energy into that. You're feeding it, right? And what happens when you feed something is it grows, it expands. If you're pursuing security and you're thinking about that, guess what? You're feeding a whole bunch of energy to it. It grows and expands, right? So you got to ask yourself, are you feeding scarcity or are you feeding abundance, right? Or are you feeding security or are you feeding freedom, right? For you though, it's like scarcity or abundance, right?
Now, for us to get a little bit more visual, we would really like to share with you the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Who's heard of that before? Drop a one in the chat if you've heard of the hierarchy of needs from Maslow. Okay, awesome.
Nice, a good percentage of you guys. Some of you
Cool.
I think haven't, but either way, we'll jump into it. I saw a bunch of you guys commented some large pieces earlier up. I won't have to go back and read them, but I'll have to do that later. See what you guys are talking about.
Okay, so here we have the hierarchy of needs of Maslow's.
Yes.
Okay? So we have the triangle and there's different layers to it.
Yep.
Now, when we talk about this, we do believe that with every part of this, money is a factor.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is something that we Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you've probably seen it before for different contexts or reasons, and it has to do just with human beings and like what we need, right, as humans to, feel good and thrive and be okay in this world. And when we initially saw it for like years now, we didn't really see it directly in the correlation of money. But over this last couple times, as we've really been diving into it, we started to see the connection of that and started to see that actually correlating to Maslow's hierarchy of needs here, money is one of I think it's one of the only things that really affects every single layer of this hierarchy here, right? So money is, if you look at the bottom, the physiological needs, right? Food, water, warmth, rest. This is all just like the most basic survival elements, right? In order to get food, in order to get water, warmth, like a roof over your head, all this stuff, you need money for it, right? Money's going to be what funds that. Right, now the next level up, right, which is interesting now again that we see the safety needs, right, that we see security here. right? Because everybody, you think about 9 to 5, so common. Most of you guys said security as well, right? That people are after. That's only the next. That's the next rung up.
And you mentioned earlier, right, when we were speaking, that 80% of the population is right here.
I saw this stat earlier when I was just looking into stuff like early this morning, basically talking about how 80% of the world is actually in this moment living off of less than $10 a day.
That's 80% of the world.
80% of the world is living off of less than $10 a day. So they're still at on the bottom rung there, like barely having enough for those needs, for water, food, warmth, like the most basic survival things, right? But then when we're thinking about people in 9 to 5, because most of us are from like Western countries to a degree, then the next level up people are after is security, right? Is having that safety net, so they're not back on the absolute bottom, but they're not really like then yet focused on getting to the top levels, right? That's not the main focus there, right?
So then we get to the one which is belonging and love. Mm-hmm. So how do you see money involved in there?
Yeah, absolutely. So still, you'd think, if you look at these ones, for me, that was the first one when I looked at it, I was like, is it really necessary? Is money actually correlate to that element of belongingness and like love and intimate relationships or friends or family, right? It's like, do you really need money? And then I was like, oh, snap, yes, you do. Because you look at what the stats are for what's the number one cause of divorce? Do you guys know? You guys probably know. Money, right? Not having enough money. Finances are the biggest number one cause of divorce. That's the biggest issue.
And relationships. Why relationships don't
relationships,
work out?
Family. So just as relationships with like a marriage that causes a divorce, finances are the biggest factor for that. And the number one biggest factor which will cause discourse and problems within a family, like right within like mom, dad, brother, sister, whatever it might be, is financially related. That is the number one cause of families having discourse or issues or problems within it, right?
Drop a 1 in the chat if you guys are still following along and you're understanding these layers up until now. Mm-hmm. This is all clear for you guys still? Okay, so we have the physiological, I can't even pronounce
Physiological.
that needs, then we have the safety needs, and we have the belonging and the love.
Yeah.
Then once you have accomplished that, once that, it's like you got that,
yeah.
Then you're going to go up to the esteem needs.
Yes, then you're up to esteem, and that's where you're focused on prestige, right? When you're focused on that feeling of accomplishment. And usually that feeling of accomplishment and prestige actually comes by comparison to other people around you, right? Because we're really tribal creatures, So having that level of prestige usually comes by way of like, dressing nice clothes, right? Having some jewelry or something like that, having a nice car, right? Being able to have a nice house, right? Now, this is there's an interesting thing to this as well, because you see money affects this in such a big way. And we as human beings are so influenced by these needs that we make poor money decisions, that we make a large percentage of the world makes poor financial decisions in order to move themselves up to these other levels.
And if you make poor financial decisions, you're never going to get to the level where you actually have that financial freedom.
Yeah.
Right? So maybe you can give an example here.
Exactly. So for this one, for the prestige element, I saw this stat too, it was crazy. So it was 70 to 75% of like what they called like highline brands, like high-end brands for automobiles, brands like Mercedes, Audi, what else, like Jaguar, BMW, Land Rover, different things like that, right? Vehicles like that, 70 to 75% of them around the world are leased.
Do you guys know what that means? Like when a car is leased, you don't own it. I mean, right?
So think about you're somewhere, right? Wherever you are, you look outside, you see some of these nice cars driving by. 70 to 75% of the vehicles around are leased, which means that 70 to 75% of the people who were driving those vehicles, which are nice ones, which help their status and their image, right, actually can't afford them.
That hits, I think.
we are like social creatures, and we, it's I don't know, we get caught into this trap of thinking we need to do these things to like fit in and capture a certain status within society, and we actually screw ourselves over financially. People will end up, in debt or having to pay off, having to pay this stuff off, and it's they put themselves, it's poor money management, right?
I'm glad you needed that, Alejandro. Yeah, but then at the same time, they're also not really wanting to downgrade themselves, right? They're not going to want to go get like a cheaper car that they could afford.
Exactly. Yeah, because then that hits their social status then, right? Then all of a sudden it's now they're, they feel like they're in the ghetto or something like that, right? If they downgrade to like a Honda or something else, now they're no longer in that top level, which then hits their ego, right? Which makes them feel like they're not part of the tribe or part of the pack, and then they have to like kind of start over again, right?
Yeah, so Lisa's saying, so is it like shiny object syndrome?
No, I would not say it's like shiny object syndrome is like is different. That's just where
That's a great question, though.
That is a good question, yeah. So no, shiny object syndrome is just like where you're doing something and it's like you're not able to have like the discipline or focus to see that thing through, that you're like kind of starting it and then you're just like, oh, hey, there's something else over there, and then boom, you're on that. And then as you're into that, it's like, oh, hey, there's something else over there. Boom, you're into that. Right? No, this element, the esteem element, and trying to build that prestige, and why 70 to 75% of people buy cars that they actually can't afford, is literally just to try and hold their position. It also relates to the other ones, right? It also relates to their the other pieces of the hierarchy of needs here, to their security and safety within the pack, within the human tribe and people around them, right? If you think about a specific city, let's just as an example, let's say in Amsterdam, everybody drives like a Porsche Cayenne or something like that, right? Everybody drives this Porsche Cayenne. That's the vehicle. When you go there and you're driving something else, you start feeling out of place. You start feeling like something's a little off. You're driving like you're driving like a Honda or something, you're like, something's not right here. So your brain is going to start telling you, hey, I need to find a way to get myself in one of these Porsche Cayennes so I can fit in and not be one of the outcasts, because our brains are still really primal mechanisms, right? And these primal mechanisms in our brain are basically trying to help us survive. But this trying to help us survive in today's world doesn't help us with finances, or doesn't help us actually get out of the rat race type thing, right? So you have to be able to defy that.
Great question here from Miriam as well. Miriam, is it that they can't afford it, or maybe it's just that they change it often, or maybe company cars too?
There will be some that do that, but I think the majority, I think it's really that they do it to achieve this next level, because this is like Maslow's hierarchy of needs here, is like you need to level up, right? If you're in the belongingness and love and needs, but you don't yet have any prestige or any feeling of accomplishment, or like other people around you see that you've succeeded to a level, right? Then in your mind, it's what's happening here is you're needing to get to that next level unconsciously. You're not realizing it, but you need to get to that next level, right? So what are going to be the things that help you get there? If you're into town and you have a Honda, right, and everybody else has this Porsche, your mind's going to keep telling you every time you're seeing it, you're like, shit, I need that. I should be getting that, right?
Now let's go to the last one, which is the highest one.
Yes.
So all of these add up to people being happier. Is that what you would say?
Yes and no. You can be happy. You can be absolutely happy on the bottom. People with absolutely no money in the world can be extremely happy and have fulfillment. And then people,
as long as they're maybe not chasing the next one. Is
exactly.
That right?
Yeah, it could be. Yeah. And then people on top who have all the money in the world, they can just feel completely unfulfilled and unhappy, right? But then you have every other extreme as well. But I would say more often than not, if you can be at the top of this element, right, and you can have the money that's helped bring you there, for the most part, you're going to have more. It's not guaranteeing you're going to be more happy, but you're going to have more potential to achieve that happiness in a faster, smoother manner, right? You can find a way to get somebody to help you achieve that, or like you can go and try all the things in the world to be able to see what it is you actually enjoy and what lights you up, right? Versus being on the bottom and you just have to accept what you have, and what you have is nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
So how does this relate to like entrepreneurship? How would you say that? Because obviously, because this is what we even did last year, we felt like we had already been climbing these, and at some point we felt like we were kind of like closer to the top, and then we felt like, oh, but like what is right now like our purpose, or where do we go?
Yep.
And that's where we felt like we needed to start over.
Yeah.
That's literally what we told each other, is like, what if we just get rid of all our money and we just start from scratch again? Because that felt exciting, and that's for some of you, maybe that's where you're at right now. You're at that basic level where right now you have that security from a job, but if you're going to go into entrepreneurship, you need to start taking care of yourself. You need to start making sure that you start to go on this path basically to get to a point where you are, you know.
Exactly. And as you're saying, we got to our own level of self-actualization and having money and feeling like we could, tap into our full potential. And then what happens is like, oh, now you feel like you need to accomplish something else. But when you're in the top, all of a sudden it's like, what do I do now? Right? And then there's not like a need. There's nothing else that you, like the next thing that you need to accomplish. And it's a weird thing, right? So then for us, exactly, Ellen was saying that we're thinking about like, just throwing all our money away and like, let's start again, right? Because that's exciting, and then it puts you back into that more survival state. And okay, now I need to find my way again from having nothing and work my way up, because every level of moving past here provides a level of like satisfaction, right?
So what we wanted to share with, and I love that you guys are asking questions as well. A final one here from Derek: if you have a form of this triangle, enlarging the bottom will enlarge the top as well. Do you understand that question?
No, I'm not sure. If you have a form of this triangle, enlarging the bottom will enlarge the top as well. I'm not 100% sure what that means, Dirk.
Okay, if you can explain it, maybe we'll get to it at the end.
Yeah.
So that was like the hierarchy of needs. Okay, so we do want to...
Yeah, so I want you to think of, actually right now, let's go ahead and...
How was it to start over with a new mindset? We actually ended up not starting over from scratch. We kept going.
We were pretty close to. I think we started over.
We might still at some point.
We almost started over like mentally, but we didn't actually go do it.
Yeah.
We were just like, we'll
keep the money.
We're like, yeah, we don't need to just chuck it in. Yeah, but anyways, I want you right now just think of one thing. All right, think of one thing here. I want you to think of one thing right now that you're grateful for. Okay, if you can just drop that in the chat. Just one thing you're grateful for.
Something that comes to mind.
Boom. Aletta says Dane, her partner. Nice. Oh, yeah, cute. Being in Bali. My husband. Having a house.
My parents. My relationship.
My daughter and my wife. Beautiful. Being in New Zealand.
Our
my
health.
Family. Cats. Oh, cats. All right, now for me, one sip of water, sorry. I am grateful for thunder over there.
Can you guys hear that?
That's nice. Ooh, spooky. So I am grateful for this abundance that surrounds each and every one of us. I'm grateful that every single one of us is absolutely surrounded with abundance. In fact, I believe so deeply in this abundance that I don't really believe in the word greed. All right? Now, in order for greed to exist, as some people think it does, in order for greed to exist, that would mean that we are living in a limited world, a limited universe where we're always basically just taking from somebody else's piece of the pie. Right? Now, right here, right now, pay attention, okay? Listen up. I want you to take one big, long, deep breath in right now, all right? In your nose, right? One big one. And exhale if you haven't exhaled. All right? Now let me ask you, was that greedy of you taking that breath of air just now? All right, me going out after the sun is gone, is it going to be greedy of me, going to the sunset, right? Going and seeing the sunset, absorbing the sunlight on my skin, right? Jumping into the pool and swimming in an absolute abundance of water, right? While somebody else is out there sitting, has the same opportunities as me, but they choose to be sitting at home alone, hanging out on the couch, neglecting all of those other things that I just mentioned, right? Here, in this place we're in right now, I choose to get up early, all right? I choose to go and grab more hours in the day. I choose to read pages of a book. I choose to eat healthy foods, exercise more, exercise harder. I choose to drink plenty of water. I choose to earn more money, and I choose to help people improve their lives. Now, by me choosing to do all of these things that I'm talking about right now, am I in any way taking away from somebody else's piece of this big imaginary pie that we're all sharing? No. By me having these things and helping other people have these things as well, it does not limit someone else's ability to also have all of these exact same things. Right?
And I think exactly what you're saying right now is a very important realization to have. right? And I think that's something that oftentimes we'll think that, oh, if I'm, making this money, then somebody else is not making that money. But that's not how it works.
Exactly. We're living in an abundant world, and we all have more than enough to capture. You, I, every single one of us.
Now let's shift some gears here. Okay, so now you've gained a little bit of awareness around where your orientation is towards money, like where you're leaning. You understand some of the opposites between the emotions and the different levels of Maslow. Now let's shift this. We're gonna want to go into the powerful money shifts to really change everything for the things that shifted for us, right? That if you apply those, they will also change everything for you. Okay, so we're gonna dive into 3. So, grab your pen and paper as well, because you're going to want to write some things down. So the first one that we're going to dive into is that money beliefs, okay, can be multi-generational. Okay, so money beliefs can be multi-generational. So that is the first one.
Yep.
I'll drop it in the chat as well for you guys. There we go. So when we asked you earlier, right, at the beginning of the call, we asked you, about like a painful experience and a joyful experience in regards to money. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to think of the first experience that you remember having with money. What is the first experience that comes to mind? You can keep that to yourself, but literally first thing that comes to mind when you kind of like realized that money existed.
Yeah, first time you realize like money is a thing. It's something. It's a thing, right?
Yeah, and give that a second to think about it, and maybe even like sketch that scene, kind of like what that looked like, and actually make some notes for yourself. The first one that comes to mind was actually mind-blowingly joyful. Amazing.
Wonderful.
Amazing. So we'll go into some examples here as well, but when you want to break away from those scarcity money beliefs, which is what we've been talking about, like that security, that not feeling good around money, you're going to want to look at the unconscious like patterns that you have, okay? Because experiences that played a role in your life and like your early life, some of the things that you may be written down by now, they actually influence a really big part of how you operate right now, okay? Now, when Connor and I were talking about this, like, okay, well, when was the first time that you kind of like thought money was like this real thing or money existed? Connor actually was talking about this experience when he went to the store with his parents.
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to share that story?
Yeah. So for me, there was a time like, I don't know, it was like 6 or 7 or something like that, and I was trying to get some Pokemon cards. Freaking Pokemon cards over here. I was like all about that Pokemon life. And we went to the mall or to like Walmart or something like that with my parents. And I remember like we were cruising around. They were looking to buy some stuff, and then we went over to like the kids' toy section. And I saw these Pokemon cards, and they were like up behind this like little glass shelf. And I was like, oh dang! I was like, I need some Pokemon cards. I was like, hey, mom, dad, can you guys? I'm like a little kid, didn't have any money, but I like asked my kid or my parents. I'm like, hey, can you guys get me some Pokemon cards, or can I please get some Pokemon cards? And then basically they were like, no. They came to the conclusion of, no, we're not getting you these Pokemon cards. Like, you can't get the Pokemon cards. So then I'm like, okay. In that moment, there's a couple realizations that came to me that I realized as Ellen said, we were diving into our money beliefs and like things that we've experienced. This is one of the things that actually had a big impact on me. This simple little moment. Because what it did for me is it made my child brain realize something, and it's something that I've held on to for a long, long time, right? And what that is that if I ask people for something, I'm not going to get it. That's one of them. And then the other part of it, if you went through the same experience and you're a kid, and you asked your parents for something, maybe it was a chocolate bar or something like that, and waiting in line to walk out, and your parents said no, right? What are some things that are going to go through your mind that you're going to think to explain some of the things you're going to explain what that scenario is, right? Now, for a lot of people, one of the biggest money beliefs that people...
So recap for a moment. So,
Sorry.
You're going to the grocery store, you want to buy a chocolate bar, you ask your parents if you can buy that chocolate bar, and they tell you no.
Yeah.
Same thing with Connor. Connor asked his parents, can I
Pokemon
get these
cards.
Pokemon cards? They told him no.
Yeah.
Now, how do you start feeling when your
Yeah.
parents tell you no?
Yeah.
What comes up for you guys? That I'm not worth it.
First one, so Maria saying that I'm not worth it. Exactly. Or that like Lydia saying it's wrong. Like everything you guys are going to say, is true. It's real. It's one of the stories or reasons that we say as to why, you know, that situation played out the way it did. Now, for like most human beings, most of the money blocks that people have usually come down to that first one that was just shared here, was I'm not enough, right? Think about being a little kid and have like asking your mom or dad, hey, can I please get this? And then you're like, you get a no, right? And then they go buy something else for themselves, right? That makes you think, you know, that I'm not enough. I'm not supported. It's not like you're not gonna help me. Like I have to, you know, damn, I'm just not worth it. That feeling of I'm not enough is something that most people will adopt and have adopted. Me in that moment when I was told I didn't get Pokemon cards, I picked up something a little bit different. I picked up that, well, I knew they had money on them. They had the card. I knew they had cash. And for me in that moment, I was like, okay, if I ask for it, I'm not going to get it. So
and that's a powerful one to think about as well, which has probably like been with you as well for a long period of time.
Yeah,
what we're doing here is like you thinking about certain money scenarios in the past to then look at like how did that actually make you feel. And so for Connor, that was, okay, if I ask for it, whatever that may be, I'm not going to get it.
Yeah.
Now what happened after?
After that, I realized, or I came to the conclusion of, okay, if I ask for it, I'm not going to get it. I still want it, so I'm going to find a way to get it. And I'm going to find a way to get it that doesn't involve money because I didn't have money. So guess what I did? I started becoming a little kid who was stealing Pokemon cards. All right? I started stealing Pokemon cards like crazy as like a little kid. I was like hijacking up all the 7-Elevens and like Walmarts and stuff like that. I built up a freaking collection of Pokemon cards because that's one of the things that my child brain, you know, realized was like, hey, if I ask for it, I'm not going to get it. So I'm going to find a way to get it, you know? So I find a way to make it work. So that was something for me that I was like, I'm always going to find a way to make it work.
Which is a good belief to have, actually,
Exactly.
because that is what got you to where you are right now.
Exactly.
As well.
So that's one of the beliefs that helped me now in the entrepreneurial game or in life, because it helps me no matter what I'm facing right now, I'm going to find a way to make it work. I'm going to get around any single obstacle. Now that was for me. I know not everybody gets that mentality. Most people will pick up that, hey, I'm not worth it, or I'm not enough kind of thing. And that's one of the biggest limiting beliefs that will hold people back, especially when it comes to money. Mm-hmm.
So now I get why we started with the prison story.
Yeah.
So ask yourself right now, what was that first experience?
Yep.
Write that down. And what is the belief that actually came from that?
Yes. Your child brain or whatever it was that you experienced that and realized money was a thing. What's the belief that you picked up from that story?
Yeah.
Yeah, Wendy, I have to work hard for a little bit of money.
Okay, 1 second. Let's
sorry.
let people write things down.
All right. Got excited.
Ooh.
That's a deep one that probably a lot of people hold on to, actually.
Mm-hmm. So just remember that if you want to share it in the chat, I love how open you all are. If you want to keep it to yourself, that's totally okay as well.
Of course, yeah. If you want to keep it to yourself, don't feel obliged to share it or obligated. But yeah, it's awesome how open you guys are just sharing it out and letting other
Very
people
interesting
see.
one. So money is hard to get, and I must always think about security.
Go to the top.
For Kilian,
Money should be saved for emergencies.
for Lydia, that's a very interesting one. I need money to get food. Amber and Peter, money doesn't grow on trees. My dad always told me. Always save a lot of your income for later. Oof, some deep ones here for sure. When you have money, you can buy food.
There's a limit to my capabilities. Okay. Yep. Dirk, the belief that would be that giving the basics to someone and having them grow because of it is a blessing of adding value. Yep. Yep.
And I love also how there's so many different things coming up as well, which makes it really interesting to learn from each other as well, because I'm sure that if you've read some other ones from other people right now, you're like, oh my God, like, yes, that's actually one that I experience as well.
Yeah. You
so
have to work for your money.
That's what makes this environment so interesting as well. We all get to learn from each other and like up level our money mindset like together.
Yeah. Existence of money can be frustrating. Ooh. Yeah. Just the existence of it. Whoa. Hey, that's like some of these. Very interesting.
I have to have a big buffer because I have to live from gig to gig. Very interesting, Rowan. We'll talk about that in a minute as well when we go into principle number 2.
Yeah.
But let's wrap up this first one here. Yeah. So that was a question as well from somebody earlier. What was that? Let me check. Wendy says, so how do you shift your mindset to something positive or something that will actually like support you?
Yeah, so like this, just what you just did here is the first step in that process. That's the first piece of it. Acknowledging these beliefs is the first step in you being able to create some distance between you and the limiting beliefs that you've held, that you've had for, that you picked up from a young age, right? Or the ones that you still have that are holding you back or you're here, right? Separating yourself from it is very important, and that being able to identify it and write it down like this, you're now identifying it and able to see it's not you, it's not, it's not a part of your identity. And most likely most of these like they aren't even true, right? Rather they're just a single looking glass for how you can, that you can view things through, that you can view the world through or a certain scenario through, right?
And it was maybe something that literally was only 5 minutes out of like your childhood or something that made the biggest impact. And we'll have an example about that in a minute as well, where literally 20 minutes in Connor's life made such a big impact in comparison to like the 20 years before that. So very interesting as well to see that.
Yeah, but if it's a looking glass that you're looking through, like as I was saying, some of these stories are that. They're just a looking glass, right? It's just a thing, a way to see something through, or like what you see. But if you're looking through that looking glass and you see it's revealing scarcity to you, right? Then you have permission right now to go ahead and throw that looking glass on the ground, scrap it, smash it up. You just don't need it anymore, right? Now, we always tell people, like when we're on these kind of mastermind calls, these settings, right? There's something we call like golden nugget rule, right? There's a whole bunch of content and information we can dump on you and like things you can just soak up, but picking just a couple little things out is really important, right? Now, from some of these components of what we just went through, I want you to acknowledge that or realize that you can choose what you're going to look at, right? Either you're going to be staring at the scarcity side of things and hunting for security, or you can be looking at abundance and experiencing freedom, right? Complete different realities and different sides of the fence. But what I want you to understand is, this is also something that I experienced as a little kid. A story that made me realize it is I had a teacher, basically when I was like a science teacher when I was young, tell me that cold doesn't exist. That's what they told me. And I'm from Canada. So you step outside and you're going to tell me that a cold doesn't exist when I'm like freezing my ass off when I step outside. I'm like, I don't...
Minus 40 degrees.
I'm like, this teacher doesn't know what the hell they're talking about, right? But what the teacher made me realize in that moment was something profound, which also relates to how I view money in the world right now, okay? So what they told me there was, cold doesn't exist. Heat is the only thing that exists. There's heat, and then there's the absence of heat. There's no cold, there's heat, and there's the absence of heat, right? Now this correlates exactly to what we're getting after here right now, okay? Abundance is all there is. I'm living in an abundant universe and world here. You are also living in an abundant universe and world. If you're seeing scarcity, all you're seeing is the lack of abundance. But the only thing there is abundance. So you're choosing to then look through a looking glass and find something that isn't there. So if you can realize that abundance is literally all there is, and you can start looking through that lens and seeing the world around you and every opportunity around you through that lens, that abundance is all there is, it can be extremely game-changing for your world. I
think that was the mic drop.
Goosebump moment.
That was the golden nugget there. There's been a lot of information shared, but as long as you remember that there's abundance all around, that is the thing that you want to remember. So how are y'all feeling about this? I see this is a beautiful, powerful goosebump moment. When he says, is it possible that this is a long process? I feel like my relationship is different now than it is already as a child, but there's still something standing in the way. And it's a process, you know, like
yeah,
that's a growth journey as well that you're going to go on.
100%. It's definitely a process. It can be a process, though it doesn't have to take long necessarily. It doesn't have to be a long process. It may be for you now up until where you've gotten to, but the ability to then change and make a faster transformation and see things through a different lens does not have to take long. If you shifted your belief and made it something so it could be a fast, quick hit, and we go, you know, and did some deeper work to really uncover all the things that are holding you back, break through those, create the new beliefs, and like live life through that lens, then it can be much faster. It doesn't have to take you another 40 years or something like that, right? In no way. Yeah. Vanessa, I found it helpful to think of Mother Earth and how much it provides for us naturally. Of course, that's, you know, looking at nature. If you look at nature, there's no lack, there's no limitations. It's all abundance, and that's what I mean by, you know, looking at the world that we're living in, the universe that we're living in. It's abundant. That's all there is. Yeah.
All right, so let's go to the second one. Yes?
Yep.
Everything said about that one?
Yeah.
Anything else?
I think we're good. Are you guys good? You
guys
good?
Drop a one in the chat if you guys are ready for the second one.
Yeah.
So the first one we've covered. So the money beliefs can be multi-generational. That was the first one. Okay. Now the second one that we're going to dive into is the glass ceiling. Okay. And this actually came up in the Gold Mastermind. So we're going to cover that one right now.
Yeah.
The glass ceiling. Now we're with a bunch of people here right now, right? Some of us are kind of like in the early stages of becoming an entrepreneur. Others of you are, you know, reaching for that next level of financial success. And honestly, it really doesn't matter in which stage you're in your journey right now, because we all of us create stories in our mind about how much money we can earn. So the glass ceiling, how much money we can actually earn. So realistically, take a moment right now to think about how much money do you think you can earn per month? What's a realistic number that you feel you can achieve? And share that in the chat. And be honest with yourself, hey? Don't get influenced by the other messages in the chat, because one person says 20K and then everybody puts 20K in. But this is like you're doing this to yourself. You have to be brutally honest with yourself. Okay, so I see 3K, 5K, 1600, 4K, a couple of times 20K a month, 5K.
3,500.
There's no limits for John and Danique. But actually think about it. I know that, you know that there's no limit, but like, what do you actually think you can earn per month?
There's no limit, unlimited, yeah, but do you know anybody making,
trillions?
$2 quadrillion a minute? I don't know about that. I don't even know what $2 quadrillion is.
But I do like that you guys are thinking in that way.
Close. He's closest.
So oftentimes people wonder, like, is it actually really possible to make, $50,000 a month, $10,000 a month, $100,000 a month, right? And you probably know that there is more. You probably know that you could hit more than you're doing right now, because I'm sure that all the numbers that you guys are putting in the chat is more than you're currently earning. But for some reason that you always feel like there's this ceiling, which is kind of like what you put in the chat right now. It's like this roof, and it's kind of very normal that we're doing that. It's what most people do. Yeah. You're kind of like unconsciously creating a roof that represents the kind of like the absolute max of what you can achieve financially.
Yep.
Okay, and what our beliefs do is they create like a roof there and like a floor. So do you want to explain that?
Yes.
Kind of like how you explain that to me in terms of the room that we're in right now?
100%. I was trying to see how many people are on the call with this again. So I saw there's like, was it 62, 64 people on the call with us right now. Okay, I'll explain this piece first. Yeah, keeping it in the same flow. So you're in a room right now. I don't know if anybody's outside, but if you're outside, just visualize yourself being in a room, right? You have the actual physical floor on your feet, right? Then you have the actual roof over your head. Right now, the actual floor is the bottom that you could get to financially, let's say. Let's call it zero, right? Yes, I know we can go in debt and stuff like that, but once you're 50 grand in debt or $1 million in debt, it doesn't really matter. It's debt, same thing, right? It's just money, it's just energy. Don't worry about that. But let's call it 0, get to the top. I don't know what do you guys want to call the top? Quadrillion? I don't know what that is. Nobody's a quadrillionaire in the world right now.
Let's say a billion.
Let's call it.
Billion as the top.
It's more than that though, but
Yeah,
Elon's crushing it. So let's say quadrillion, right? Whatever that means. Anyways, you got this scale from nada to quadrillion, right? Now I'm over here making imaginary numbers up. Now, where I'm sitting right now, boop, check me out. Where my hands are, this could be my belief system, right? Your belief system, if you lift your hands up, one up above the other in front of you, right? Now this can be your belief system as the absolute max that you can earn or the bottom that you should be at, right? Most of us have some form of belief system of what our earning potential is, what our income potential is, can be, or should be, right? Or like what our absolute max is. Now, it's going to vary depending on what our life experience has been up until now and the level of belief and stuff that we have in ourselves as to how close to the floor it is or how close to the roof it is, right? We're all going to have varying ones to varying degrees, as you all could see from within the chat, right? Now, this is your belief system that define these two levels, but these two levels are completely imaginary. They don't exist other than in your head and in the reality that you're creating for yourself when it comes to your finances, right? Now, you may think, that the 10K or 8K or whatever it is your ceiling or roof. You're bouncing that, right? You're not going to be able to go above that because that's what you think your roof is. But why not have it be higher, right? Out of the 64 people that are on this call right now, there's one person that put out a number monthly that's actually higher than what we're making monthly right now. Every other person put out something that's actually as what you think your maximum is, what you think your ceiling is. Every other person, so 63 out of the 64 people put your maximum as something lower than what our actual current monthly income is right now. So the reason I say that is because you, as we're living in this abundant reality, can and should be able to surpass what we're doing, right? There's nothing about us that's super special that makes us, we have to earn more than you're earning, or like our ceiling has to be higher than yours. No, it does not have to be. You can have a higher ceiling than us. You can earn more money than us, and we would absolutely freaking love for you to do that, to help you do it, or to see you accomplish something far beyond what we're doing right now and far beyond what our ceiling is, right? So I found that really interesting that's where you guys put yourself is not as expansive as you could be. And if you're here living this life, we're all only here playing this game for once right now as far as we're aware. So why would we not play to a higher level? Why would you put an imaginary roof on what you can do? Right? Other people can do that, like, friends or family or people you grew up around. Sure, they can go put those things on you, but it doesn't mean anything to you. You should not allow yourself to put that kind of ceiling on yourself, or especially like one that's so limited. Right?
Mm-hmm. And I would really say that what you want to do is you want to look at when you do realize like you put a certain number on yourself and like, okay, it's really hard to get over that, or I don't know if I can ever make that, and that is kind of like the max that I feel like I could earn. You're going to want to ask yourself, does this belief that I have being able to make 5K, 10K, 50K, whatever the number is that you put in the chat, does that actually make sense? Is that actually like the thing that's going on right now? Is that something that is the actual max, or is that just what my belief system is right now?
If it doesn't make sense, if it's not like true, if it's not serving you, why are you going to hold on to it? You got to chuck that out.
And that's exactly what we did. Because for us, when we started in 2016, it only took us 10 months in business to cross the 10K a month in profit, okay? Now, after that, the income kept growing until we hit 20,000 a month. And then we couldn't get past it. There was this glass ceiling. And for some reason, whatever we did, I couldn't get past it. Until I realized where that came from. Until I realized that there was a blockage, basically. Until I realized that was my comfort zone. And I kind of like dug really deep, because back in 2014, I realized that I started traveling the world. I went to Australia when I left the Netherlands with 20,000 euros in my bank account. So that felt as the safe zone. That was the max that my mind could comprehend, was earning 20,000 per month. And I basically held on to that number because I was like, that number is comfortable. That number feels good. So I couldn't get past it. I was like stuck basically. And then I had to break through that. I had to break through that pattern to like continue growing.
Yeah.
And as soon as I did that, when I realized and I got that awareness, then I was able to break through. So ask yourself, like, how much money like can you hold right now? Where are your where are you in terms of like what your ceiling is?
Yeah, what's your imaginary ceiling? And why is it there? Should it be there? Probably not. Probably should be more than that, because you're more capable than you think you are, than you're giving yourself credit for right now. Right? Like as Amelia's saying, it's true to my current her ceiling, her imaginary one is true to her current situation rather than her belief system. But if you did put a higher one up, it would be, or like you would have put a higher number in, right? Because that would have matched what your actual belief system is. Most people's belief system actually just matches their reality, because most people aren't really in the process of, transforming their belief system. To transform your belief system, actually we have a really good exercise, which is in our 3-day money cleanse, which we'll be doing after this. Which
yes, stay tuned for that. We'll talk about that in a minute. Money detox, not money cleanse.
Oh, detox.
We'll give you guys a money detox for 3 days after this for those of you that are in for that. So main thing that we want to tell you here is tell yourself a better story. Whatever, the new ceiling is that you want to work towards, write that one down. And honestly, for me, you're probably thinking like, oh my God, like how long did it take to break through that 20K? That took freaking forever until I realized where that thought came from. And then literally it was just a meditation with my wealth activation coach. We literally went in like a 10-minute meditation, and I broke through that. I was like, now my new ceiling is up. So just know that, okay? It doesn't have to take forever, but you do need to create the awareness. So start asking yourself where that is coming from, okay? So that is the second one, the glass ceiling, which is one that I think Amelia asked about as well in gold. So Amelia, hopefully this gave you clarity on like your next steps as well. I'm really curious to hear as well later on what you have as your glass ceiling, and we can talk about it more. So the third one is belonging.
Belonging.
Yes, and for that one, I'm going to share my screen one more time with it. Ooh.
Says you can't share.
Oh, here we go.
Oh. Can you guys see our screen?
Not yet, not yet.
No, or not yet.
Here we go.
Yeah, nice.
Okay.
Ayo.
So this is actually a message that came in our support system, in our Gold Mastermind, from one of the girls, and I'll keep the name private for now, but this is what came in. So do you want to read this maybe?
Okay. So this says, throat. I had an interesting discussion with my dad that brought up some guilt for me. He was asking what I do, how many hours I work, and how much I charge. He was shocked. He's a toolmaker that's been working hard his whole life, and he believes that I'm expecting to work for next to no hours and I want good pay. When people like him have had to work hard their whole lives and always struggle for money.
And the picture doesn't really match up with the text, I realize.
Yeah, we didn't really match that photo up, right? But that's
okay. So basically one of the girls in the mastermind had an interesting conversation with her dad about like kind of what she was doing in her business, how many hours she wants to work, and what she's charging for her service, okay? I see that Bauke feels this one, and he was shocked. Like, he is somebody that has worked hard his whole life and feels like that the people nowadays, like the millennials basically, they want to get a good pay when expecting to not really do much work for it.
Yeah.
Even though they have worked their entire lives and struggled for money.
Yeah, and the person in our mastermind now felt guilt from that experience.
Yes.
Right? Through having that kind of conversation.
Now, who can relate to that?
I see a few people
I
saying...
see Amelia says, I can relate. You feel judged by others by wanting more.
Yeah. Kilian, same. Carmen, yes. yeah. Interesting one, yeah. Teresa, yes. Marlus, yes. Yeah, you guys are feeling it. I've definitely had that conversation with my family members before. Yes, my boyfriend also thinks it's only for the lucky ones. Yeah. I feel guilty for charging prices to customers who can't afford prices that are too high. Rowan, yeah.
My dad thought I was doing something illegal.
Really? Nice. Yeah.
Judged by friends.
Judged by friends, same. So a lot of you guys are experiencing the same thing and completely get it. You know, we've experienced the same thing. I think I've probably experienced it maybe deeper than you have in some ways, but just from like more family. But
yeah, and basically going back to where I was talking about, that 20 minutes in Connor's life made such a big impact in comparison to like the 20 years or 18 years before that. And so sometimes what we need somebody from outside of your current tribe, like the people that you spent most of your time with, to open your mind, to see a different perspective. And that is exactly what Connor experienced at 19 years old. So if you want to share that story.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, it's crazy how like little things can have such big, you know, monumental impacts in somebody's life. So for me, I was surrounded by people with the exact same mindset as this person's dad. The story we just went through, of people who told you, you know, you got to work hard, you got to go to school, you got to get a degree or something like that, go to university, all this stuff, and like you got to like work till you're 40, 50, and then like retirement and like save your money. Oh my goodness, all of this stuff that's just like is not it, right? Anyways, something I experienced was when I was becoming a firefighter. I wasn't a firefighter yet, but I was volunteering and I was studying and going through like the firefighting university kind of thing. And at the same time, I was working at a car dealership. And at this car delership, I was like...
You were about how old?
Yeah, I was like 19. I was like 19 years old.
Okay, so 19 years old, Connor is working at the car dealership and he is, you know, working on becoming a firefighter.
Exactly. So I'm like out of high school, you know, kind of just barely working at a car dealership full time, making some money and studying to become a firefighter. And I was like, you know, I was hyped on it. It was cool. I was ready for it anyways, to become a firefighter, because it felt like a good next step for me. But then there was one day where I was working at the car dealership and my job was like, I was a lot attendant. So I was basically just driving cars around and I made like the showroom and dealership look nice, right? Now in this moment, what happened was some guy rolled in, you know, some like, I don't know, he was like 30, 40-year-old kind of dude. And he, you know, bald guy, kind of like fit. And he just rolled in and like bought this Mercedes. It was a used one, but it was like pretty much brand new. You know, it was like on the lot. Nice, basically new Mercedes. And he bought it for his daughter. And his daughter actually ended up being the exact same age as me. I didn't know her, but she was going to like a high school that was like basically kind of across the street from the high school I went to. Anyway, so he went and bought this car, this nice new Mercedes, for his daughter, and he bought it for her birthday. So he was basically just gifting his daughter this nice car, and I was like, dope. But he wanted to bring it back to his house to park it in his garage to surprise his daughter. And I was like, yeah. Like he asked if he could, you know, one of us could come and basically drive it back to his place. And he's like, yeah, I'll drive you back to the dealership after. And I was like, okay, yeah, for sure. And I was like, I'll drive the car with you and come, you know, park it there. So we got this car all cleaned up, drive it to his place. We pull up to his house, and he's got a nice house. It's not like the biggest house around, but he's in a good neighborhood. It's a nice place. Then we open up the garage, and it is like, it's customized, right? Like it was customized Harley Davidson garage. Like the floor was like Harley Davidson. He had 3 Harley Davidsons lined up. He had 2 Porsches in the garage. This was like a three car garage kind of thing. And then he was like driving like a Hummer basically for himself, right? And then we pull up, I park the Mercedes in the garage, and I'm like, damn, this dude's got some money, you know, he's got like a nice life and stuff like that. And then I jump in the car or in the truck with him to go back to the dealership so he could drop me off.
Yeah, so Connor took the car to his place, and then this guy basically took Connor back to his work, which was the dealership.
Exactly. And
in his car.
For me, that 20-minute drive of being in the car with him was a big game changer, because it helped. It reaffirmed something that I felt like I should know deep down all along. And it was just like, it was a bit of a wake-up call, but it wasn't enough of a wake-up call in that moment for me to make a change. But it was something that's like planted a seed within me that showed up more later on down the line.
Okay,
right?
So what happened?
So what happened was, driving from his place after we just dropped off the car back to the dealership, back so I could go back to work and work on my 9-to-5 job. He's driving me, and we're having a chat. And he's asking me like what I'm up to and like, you know, how old I am, just asking me different things about myself. And I tell him, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm studying to become a firefighter. And in that moment, I'm proud of it. I'm like happy. I'm like hyped because every other person I've spoken to, and I tell them I'm becoming a firefighter, they're like, oh, dope. They admire it. They're like, wow, that's cool.
So that's where you're like on the hierarchy of needs. You're like the prestige. You're like, look at me, like I'm becoming a firefighter.
Exactly.
Yes,
Prestige
exactly, Alejandro.
Exactly. So me being able to say that prestige, that I'm becoming a firefighter, brought me a level of prestige to any other person I'd spoken to. To this guy, after I said that, completely unfazed, couldn't give a shit. He was just like, I was like, whatever, really did not care whatsoever. So it was super. I was like, oh, something sunk into me, and I'm like, huh. I'm like, you didn't give a shit. And I'm like trying to become a firefighter. I'm like, everyone else thinks it's cool. I'm like, all right. And then he basically was like, you know what you need to do? As he's driving, he's like, you know what you need to do? He's like, you see my place? He's like, I got I got all this, nice house. I got like all this stuff. I can afford these things. He's like, I can be here in the middle of the day, I don't even know what it was, like a Tuesday, Wednesday, or whatever. That he's like, can just go pick up a nice brand new car for my daughter, give it to her for her birthday, and I'm like, I don't have to be at work or doing something, and now I can just come drive you back to the dealership.
That freedom part, basically.
Exactly. So he showed me the freedom, showed me he had the money in the house and doing all this stuff, and like he was living like a level of life that I was like not seeing anybody else I knew really around me at that time living. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, no. He's like, you know what you need to do? And I'm like, what's that? He's like, you need to become the boss. In that moment, he's like, you know how I afford all these things and how I'm doing all this shit? He's like, I have other people working for me right now. He's like, what I did is I started a painting company, right?
A painting company.
Company. He's like, I'm not passionate about painting, because I was telling him about the firefighting too, and I'm like, oh, I want to help people. I want to do something I'm passionate about. I want to go help people. I want to save lives. I want to, be a hero, do all this stuff. And he's like, I don't really care about painting. He's like, I don't give a shit about that. He's like, but what it does is, like, what I have right now is I have, at this moment while I'm driving you, I have several different employees around the city. They're doing work. They're painting a house. They're painting a project there, or buildings there, and all this stuff. While I'm driving you right now, I'm still making money. I have other people doing work for me, and I'm the boss, and I can kind of be calling the shots, and I'm still earning the bulk of the income. He's basically just telling me, hey, you need to become the boss. You need to find a way to put yourself at the top of your own hierarchy, your own system, basically. Get other people working for you. Create a system to actually get yourself free, making more money, and living the life, doing what you want. So from that perspective, from that 20-minute drive back, basically, the lessons I learned from him was, hey, you can make more money, you can have more freedom, and you can do sweet F all. You can do what you want. You don't actually have to work hard. It can be easy. Life can be chill, and you can make more money and do all the things you want, right? Which was completely different than what anybody else I was around at the time was telling me, right? Mm-hmm. So that for me was one of those moments of again, a different story of a 20-minute conversation with a guy, absolutely shifting my perspective. Mm-hmm. Right?
And I guess, maybe for you have one of these people as well. For Connor, it was 20 minutes in his life up until he was 20 years old. Do you have a person like that in your life that kind of shook you and kind of woke you up? Drop it in the chat if you have somebody that did that for you.
Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Maybe it's us. Yes, you guys. Yes.
And that's exactly what we're here to do.
Exactly, and that's what exactly what we're trying to do, because I've seen how impactful it's been to have people help shake things up for me, right? That we are trying to do the exact same thing for other people, trying to show you guys that there's more, it can be.
And maybe you are starting to wake up right now. You're realizing that this life can be different. Mm-hmm. Life can be different than you have known up until now.
Yeah.
And that can be really hard. Going back to the third point, which is the money shift about belonging.
Mm-hmm. Back to the story that we shared before from one of the other members of our Gold Mastermind.
Talking about her dad thinking you need to work hard and struggle for your money. Mm-hmm. That is obviously really challenging when you have that experience and when people tell you that, especially people that are so close to you.
Exactly. Yeah. So in that moment, what happened there was, when you break out of the pack, right? When you break away from your pack, from your tribe that you're around, financially, lifestyle-wise, whatever it is, the herd, who you were previously with, will say things. And usually it won't be overly positive and supportive things that people will be saying to you, right? Now, I would love to know from you, why do you think that is? Why do you think that is in those examples, like the example we gave before from one of our other Gold members, basically, as to why that their dad even, or friends or family, will say things that are not so positive and supportive as somebody is in the process of trying to break out?
Why do you guys think that is? It's their own beliefs, jealousy, Xana, multi-generational beliefs, unnatural for them. They want to protect us because they're not where we want to be or where you want to be. Feeling of security. They want to protect us. Yes.
Yes. They say they want to protect you, and they do want to protect you. You know, they believe, they've convinced themselves they want to protect you, and maybe that's what it is, right?
But what actually happens? So
Yeah.
what happens?
What happens in that moment?
Why do they do it? Why are they not overly supportive, or why are they not like as positive?
In that moment, in that scenario, it's because what happens? Turn this AC off because I know you're probably chilly. What happens if they're right, or if you're right? Sorry, if you're the person breaking out in this example from the gold, the person who's in the gold mastermind, right? She's having the conversation with her dad. What happens if she's right and she actually succeeds? Right? What happens there? It means that they're wrong. If you do something completely different than what they tell you to do or what they think needs to be done, and you're able to do it, and you are right, it means they're wrong. And then that, in that moment, it means their existence, their entire existence is threatened, right? And all that they know and all that they've known their whole life is then put into question. And that can be extremely painful, right? So people around you, while you're trying to break out of a certain lifestyle or mentalities, right? While you're trying to break out in some way or another, people around you will often express energy or words or actions that will try to kick the legs out from underneath you, right? There's a freaking great deal of pressure that, you know, we have to deal with, you know, to stay within the tribe that you're in, right? There's a great deal of pressure trying to make you stay within the tribe that you're in from other tribe people or from your own unconscious mind, from your brain, basically what's developed over like decades or hundreds or thousands of years, trying to tell you to survive and stay a part of the tribe, right? And breaking free is not easy. And that's why it is so uncommon to have people who actually successfully break free, right? And that's why it's so powerful to actually be part of, you know, like a mastermind, like Gold, right? A new tribe of people who actually aspire for more, right? For greatness in some form or another, for the uncommon, right? Trying to aspire for that, right? You now basically have a circle of uplifting people who want the best for you. Why? Because they want the best for themselves. And then that's reflected, right?
So what did we do in that moment when we were like around all those people? Because you might be wondering, like, what do you do? Like, how do you solve it? And it's a very easy answer. It might not be the answer that you want to hear, but that's what we were told you in the beginning.
It might not seem so easy as you're
We're just going to be real with you here.
It's easy if you just make it easy.
Yes, what we did, we left. And just like Denise, you literally left.
Yeah, we removed ourselves. We put ourselves in a, you know, we left it. We went to a new country. Right? We created ourselves a new bubble around us to keep our minds safe, right? To put ourselves around new mentors and people who could help us level up and had the mindset and things that we needed or wanted, that we knew we had to attain and develop to become who we wanted to be.
Mm-hmm. And that's what we see with members of our mastermind as well. When they do, you know, extract themselves from their environments, they grow so quick because you get to be in this new bubble. You get to be in this energy of different people that think differently around money, around business, around all the things that you're doing. The bubble, yes, that's why you decided to travel. Yeah, get away from it, right? So that was the last one, that is belonging. So really looking at like, how do you currently feel about the people that you're with, and like, you know, making sure that you start to step away from that if that is the most important thing for you to start leveling up yourself. So obviously we shared a lot of stuff in this masterclass. I see a question from Miriam. How do you get yourselves mentors? You know, you can, you know, find people in so many different ways. I was even telling Connor, like, imagine if Connor at 19 years old would have asked this guy that he was in the car with and showed him interest and like, guy, like, this is what I want. Like, I want to be my own boss. Imagine if he would have asked him to be his mentor. right? And just like Connor had the guts or the skill to just like ask and communicate and ask for support. And that's really what it is. Like for us as well, when we started 5 years ago, it's like asking for mentors, looking at like who is the life that you want to live and asking them for support. So we basically shared a lot in this masterclass today, and honestly, I think we can keep talking for like another 10 hours about money and abundance and all the different topics that we have discussed, and we can go so much deeper.
Well, already an hour and a half we've been cruising.
I know, for 90 minutes we've been going. So what is the one thing that stuck with you throughout this conversation around money? What's that piece or that golden nugget that you will take with you after this masterclass? I would love to hear it.
Zana says, just realized that I really needed this call today to get back on track, working on my mindset and my beliefs.
Money beliefs.
Money mindset.
I see Jasmine and Manuel say there's no ceiling, security is prison. Yes, very good one that you're saying that. Ask for mentoring, you're your own limit. To remove my ceiling.
Abundance is everywhere.
Abundance analogy.
Yeah, Derek, the heat and abundance analogy, yes.
Change my beliefs and get myself a mentor. Letting go of security. Working on my mindset more. Lizata says security is scary sometimes. Yes. I'm glad you guys caught on to that one. So many people mentioned that they want security, but now you guys are like, oh, I don't want security anymore. I want that freedom. I want that financial freedom.
Yeah, that's right.
So amazing to see how much you've learned in this call and how much has already like shifted for you. Now we want to do something special for you because some of you are already familiar with our 7-day challenge. We had created a challenge to really create a foundation for yourself and step into entrepreneurship. But now after this training of money, the topic of money, we created a new one. And this is a 3-day money detox challenge. And we will start on Tuesday. So in 2 days, because tomorrow it's our self-care Monday. So tomorrow we're not doing anything. But on Tuesday, I will be making sure to get in touch with you guys. So for anybody that would like to do that, we will be happy to help you with that. So why did we create that? To really make sure that you can continue implementing. Because it's really easy to just like walk away from right now from this training and you are boosted in energy, you maybe feel good for a day, but then you're gonna like forget about it. And sometimes we really need that extra push, that extra guidance, and this challenges help you actually integrate the lessons even deeper that we've shared with you. So to really start embodying that abundance mindset and that feeling. So how that works is basically 3 days. You will receive a link from us with a video and you're going to see our pretty faces again. And then we're going to dive deeper into an aspect. But most importantly, we've really put some thought into the action steps for you to take. Because you need to take action after you've learned the new knowledge and actually start seeing the changes. You need to take action for you to start seeing the changes happen in your life. So this is why we have created. And so if you are leaving this masterclass right now with a lot of insights and you've gained a lot of new awareness around money and your relationship with money, and you just really want to dig deeper into some money practices, then type a yes in the chat if you would like to start this 3-day money detox, and then you can just send me a message after. And it's going to be really, really fun to really do this all together over the next 3 days starting on Tuesday. Awesome. So for those of you that are in one of our masterminds already, if you're in gold or in platinum, then we will be sharing this money detox. We will be doing it together inside the mastermind. For those of you that are not inside the mastermind, then send me a message and I will be sending you day 1 of the challenge on Tuesday, and then we'll get it going. So amazing. I really, really enjoyed this one. How did you enjoy this call about money?
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun blasting around with this topic and telling some stories, and it was awesome. And it's really grateful for you guys as well, all showing up on a Sunday and showing up and being committed to yourself here and like wanting to be here and soak up something new or get a fresh perspective and be able to actually take something hopefully and implement it into your life. Hopefully, I think some of the things I shared should be able to be absolute game changers for you guys, because I know they were game changers for me.
And you could have been somewhere else on this Sunday right now while everybody else is laying on the couch watching Netflix or whatever they're doing. You're here right now with us, having learned about money and starting to take action on that. So again, if you would like to do the 3-day money detox, then send me a message after this training, and then we will get you started on Tuesday, and then we will all do it together. So thank you all for being here today. I really, really enjoyed having you all on this training today. Let me look at all your pretty faces one more time. So many people still here, so I love it. Awesome, guys. Well, thank you all for being here on this Sunday with us, and we wish you an amazing, amazing day. And that's it for today.
Yep.
Talk to you all soon. Much love. Bye-bye.
Ciao.